You've probably been insulted this week. And chances are, you smiled politely, said, "Thank you," and only later, maybe in the shower, maybe while buttering toast, realized, wait, that was a dig. That's the trouble with polite insults. They're sugar-dusted daggers. They don't bruise your ego immediately. They marinate it. They sit there quietly until you finally connect the dots and think, oh, so that's what she meant. And here's the kicker. The most dangerous insults aren't shouted across a room. They're whispered through manners, wrapped in smiles, and disguised as compliments. So today, let's decode 9 polite insults most people never realize, because once you see them, you can't unsee them. Let's begin. Number 1. You look so comfortable. This one stings more than it should. I once ran into a former colleague at the grocery store right after a run, still in leggings, no makeup, and a sweatshirt that could be practically registered as loungewear. She smiled, looked me up and down, and said, "You look so comfortable." Translation: you look like you've given up on life. The elegance is in the wording. Comfortable sounds kind, but it's really just a socially acceptable synonym for sloppy. And the worst part? You can't defend yourself. What are you going to say? No, I'm actually uncomfortable in this hoodie? The battle is already lost. Number 2. There are plenty of jobs at your level. Not every insult comes with a smile. Sometimes it comes disguised as career advice. When my old boss was leaving, she stopped by my desk. She leaned in and said, "You know, there aren't many vacancies for my kind of position, but there are plenty for yours." Translation: you're replaceable. Disposable. A dime a dozen. The irony? A few months later, I got her job. And let me tell you, nothing ages a polite insult faster than watching their placeable ones slide into your chair. Number 3. You haven't changed a bit. This one is so slippery because it sounds flattering, almost like a compliment about eternal youth. But the more you think about it, the more insulting it becomes. Because what it's really saying is, everyone else grew, evolved, moved on, and you're exactly the same as you were back then. Like a decorative plant nobody watered, but somehow it didn't die. I once heard this at a school reunion. A man clasped an old classmate's hand and said warmly, "You haven't changed a bit." She laughed, but later muttered to me, "Was that a compliment? Or proof I peaked at 17? And that's the sting. It's either, you're stuck in the past, or you still look like a teenager, but not necessarily in a good way. It's one of those phrases that sounds flattering, until you realize you've just been compared to an old class photo stuck to a fridge. Number 4. You look healthy. It sounds innocent, even kind. Except no one says this when you're glowing after Pilates. They say it when you've expanded a little. It's the socially acceptable code for you've gained weight, slipped in with a smile. The problem? You're supposed to nod and say thank you, while silently translating the insult. It's the classic backhanded compliment. Polite on the outside, brutal in the subtext. And sometimes, the sting doesn't come from how you look. It comes from how you speak. Number 5. You're always so honest. Now, honesty should be a compliment. But when someone stretches out the word, so honest, it usually isn't. Because what they really mean is, you lack tact. You don't soften the edges. You say things out loud that most people would wrap in satin and hand-deliver with a bow. I once watched a dinner conversation where a guest blurted out, "This soup is terribly salty." There was an awkward silence, a polite laugh, and the host finally said with a smile that could cut glass, "Well, you're always so honest." Translation: you're blunt to the point of rudeness. You probably think it's refreshing. Everyone else thinks it's exhausting. That's the sting of this polite insult. It dresses up irritation as admiration. It makes you feel like your honesty is a virtue, while everyone else is silently praying you never sit next to them at dinner again. Number 6. You're so lucky. This one feels harmless, but it quietly dismisses effort. You're so lucky really translates to, you didn't earn it. Because here's the truth. It's rarely about luck. It's about erasing effort. You run 5 miles every morning? Must be lucky metabolism. You get promoted after months of overtime? Just lucky timing. That's why it stings. It reduces months of effort to a coin toss. What they actually mean is, please don't remind me that effort exists. Number 7. Interesting choice. 2 words. That's all it takes to dismantle your confidence. Because interesting is the most polite, most weaponized word in the English language. It doesn't mean fascinating. It means questionable, but I'm too well-mannered to say it directly. And notice how it's never said casually. There's always a pause, a slow glance up and down, a little eyebrow lift. Then, interesting, choice. It can apply to anything. Your outfit, your new haircut, even the person you brought to the party. And the brilliance of it? You can't argue. What are you supposed to say? No, my choice is actually boring. Number 8. You're so good at not caring what people think. At first, it almost sounds liberating, as if you're being praised for living authentically. But listen closely. It's rarely said with admiration. It usually comes with a tilt of the head, a careful smile, and the unspoken warning. You really should care, because people are talking. This phrase doesn't actually celebrate freedom. It disguises judgment. It suggests your choices are bold, but only because they're a little questionable. It's the polite way of saying, that was embarrassing, but at least you don't seem aware of it. That's why it stings. It slips a tiny dose of self-doubt into your confidence, then walks away looking supportive. Number 9. You look tired. This is the polite person's way of saying, you look terrible. Because no one has ever heard you look tired and thought, how kind, they must mean radiant. No, what they mean is, your face has given up and I'm here to point it out with faux concern. And it's never said when you're actually tired. If you just pulled an all-nighter, people say, rough night, or need coffee. But you look tired shows up on perfectly normal mornings when you thought you looked fine. That's why it's so devastating. It's basically the elegant version of saying, something is wrong with your face, but I'm going to package it as compassion. And of course, it leaves you spiraling, checking mirrors, dabbing concealer, drinking suspicious amounts of water. That's why you look tired is a masterclass in the polite insult. It lets the speaker feel helpful, while leaving you wondering if you now resemble a neglected houseplant in a dentist's waiting room. Now here's the tricky part, and where people often miss it. Polite insults are rarely about you. They're about the person delivering them. Someone who says, you're so lucky, often feels unlucky themselves. Someone who calls you brave is really saying, I don't have the courage to risk looking silly. These comments reflect more about their insecurities than your reality. But, and here's the subtle test of class, how you respond matters more than whether you spot the insult. And I'll leave you with this. The most elegant people don't always clap back. They don't need to. Sometimes the quietest response is simply a raised eyebrow, and the knowledge that you caught it. So, those are 9 polite insults most people never realize. Now tell me, what's the most backhanded compliment you've ever received? The one that still makes you roll your eyes when you think of it. Like, subscribe, and check my Amazon storefront for elegant beauty and living essentials. As always, stay classy, manners matters.